Hi guys! Today we are going to start with the first topic of the course, Introduction to International Business and Globalization. The topic is simple as we only discuss some of the key concepts in international business and also how globalization related to international business. So there are four learning objectives in today's topic. I hope that by the end of today's topic, you should be able to first understand what is meant by the term globalization. Second, recognize the main drivers of globalization. Third, explain the main arguments in the debate over the impact of globalization. And last, understand how the process of globalization is creating opportunities and challenges for management practices. Okay, before we start with the first learning objective, let us discuss some of the key concepts in international business. Here, we have five key concepts or terms which we use frequently throughout the course. First of all, what is international business? It refers to trade and investment activities across national borders. The key word here is across. It has to be outside of the home country. Next, we have internationalization. Internationalization refers to the tendency of firms to deepen their international business activities. Simply said, a firm might have started with some basic exporting activities and ended with having a subsidiary branch in the foreign country. International trade refers to the exchange of products and services across national borders, whereas international investment refers to the transfer of assets or acquisition of assets in foreign countries. For instance, assume that you, as a Malaysian business owner, invest in a foreign country. Hence, you become one of the shareholders in the foreign country. Or you can acquire an asset, such as a company in the foreign country. Last, we have foreign direct investment, which commonly known as FDI. FDI refers to a domestic company establish a physical presence abroad. In other words, the domestic company has a subsidiary branch in the foreign country. So, I hope that you all can remember this key concept because they will be used frequently throughout the course. Okay, now let's start with understanding what is meant by the term globalization. Globalization is not something new, and we have been experiencing this since quite some time. Imagine that the US Nike sneakers that you have known is made in China, and the Toblerone chocolate you can buy in the local supermarket, such as Bataras, Giant Midins, and others, are from Switzerland. What are meant by these two examples? It shows that globalization has shifted to a more integrated and independent world economy. The world basically has become smaller and reachable. Globalization has two aspects, which are globalization of markets and also globalization of production. Globalization of markets refer to the merging or combining of historically distinct and separate national markets into one huge global marketplace. It has been argued that the tastes and preferences of consumers in different countries are beginning to converge on some global norm. thereby creating a global market. Consumer products such as Sony PlayStation video games, Apple iPhone, Starbucks coffee are identified as some of the examples of this trend. On the other hand, globalization of production refer to sourcing of goods and services from locations around the globe in order to take advantage of national differences in terms of cost and quality of production. By doing this, companies hope to lower their overall cost structure and production. I mentioned about the US Nike sneakers are made in China. Why not they are made in the US? This is because of low-cost production in China. Not only Nike, but other companies such as Apple also have parts of their production assembled or manufactured in China. So, we can see here that globalization of markets have made people taste and preferences converge or become increasingly similar. Apple iPhone is used by people around the world. It has no differences of the use of iPhone in the US, the UK, Korea, or Malaysia. Again, we have Nike as the classic example of globalization of production, which the company and brand are from the US, but the production has been moved to other countries such as China, Vietnam, Thailand, and India. And why these countries? What is the similarity of these countries? The answer is low cost of production in terms of labor, material, or capital. All this is cheaper and more easily accessible in this country than in the US. We have thus far understand what is meant by globalization. But what are the drivers of globalization? What makes globalization possible? There are two reasons. First, due to declining trade and investment barriers, and second, the role of technological change. In terms of declining trade and investment, firms are no longer bounded or restricted in doing business in their own country, but they can disperse their production process to different locations in the world. Recall the example of Nike. They basically have their manufacturing facilities in so many locations in the world, such as China, Vietnam, Thailand, and India. Due to declining trade and investment, economies of the world are becoming more intertwined and involved with one another, like a spider web. And due to free trade, as there are no restrictions and barriers, world has become wealthier because countries able to maximize their profit by selling their product outside of their home country and minimize their production costs because they can sourcing from low cost production from different locations in the world. The role of technological change is very significant. It basically makes everything impossible to be possible. Advancement in communication, the internet, and transportation technologies have made the world become even smaller and more reachable than ever before. Time and location differences are no longer an issue, and everything can be done and fixed effectively as well as instantly. Simply said, we can make an order from other countries in real time, and we can also communicate with them instantly. Moreover, advancement in transportation technologies has enabled low-cost shipping with shorter delivery time. Thus far, we have seen that globalization is a good thing because as consumers, we can enjoy so many varieties of products from other countries easily. Whereas for producers like Nike, they can relocate their manufacturing facilities to a different country with lower production costs, such as China. However, some actually argued and criticized that globalization is not necessarily a good thing. Here, we're going to see some of the debate over globalization. Started in 1999, more than 40,000 protesters in Seattle were protesting against the idea of globalization in terms of both markets and production. They didn't agree with the benefit which we have discussed so far. The protester and critics argued based on two facets, which are in terms of first, job and income, and second, labor policies and the environment. The protester and critics argued that firms that move manufacturing activities to low-wage countries have destroyed manufacturing jobs in their own countries, particularly wealthy advanced economies like the US. We have been mentioning Nike for so many times, and it was a good example to show how Nike manufacturing production that was initially in the US has been moved to China, India, and other lower wage countries. Hence, it has destroyed the job for their own American citizen. Therefore, unemployment rate is increasing whereas living standard is declining. Nonetheless, the supporters argue in written that the benefits of globalization outweigh the costs. For example, cheaper product which produced in country with lower wage rate will benefit consumer at large because with the same amount of money they can buy more if the product is produced in low wage country than their own country. Moreover, free trade also enables countries to specialize in producing goods and services that they can produce most efficiently while importing goods and services that they cannot. For instance, Malaysia does not produce mobile phones because in comparison to other countries such as the US, China and Korea, Malaysia does not have the capability or ability to produce mobile phones efficiently than those countries. So, why bother of wasting resources to produce mobile phones when with free trade Malaysia can simply import them? That's why we have so many type of mobile phones available in the Malaysian market. Protesters and critics also argued that companies actually take advantage to move their manufacturing activities to lower wage countries such as China and India. This is to escape in complying to labor and environmental regulation in their own countries. Advanced economies nations such as the US, the UK, and European countries have stringent regulations towards labor and environmental in comparison to developing economies such as China and India. But supporters responded with the argument that tougher and stricter environmental regulation and labor standard go hand in hand with economic progress. It means that emerging economies or lower wage countries will eventually improve their labor and environmental policies as the economic improve. It will not be stagnant and it will be keep improving, but perhaps at a slower rate. But still, it will get better. Okay, now we are in the last learning objective for today's topic, how to manage business in the global marketplace. Managing an international business is different from managing a domestic business for at least four reasons, as shown in this slide. First, each country is unique and different. Hence, we cannot apply what we have in one country to another country. Second, the range of problems confronted by a manager in an international business is wider, and the problems themselves are more complex than those in domestic business. Third, managers in an international business must find ways to work within the limit imposed by government intervention in the international trade and investment system. This is because different country will have different type of government, and the government also impose different regulation and requirements. And last, international transaction involve converting money into different currency. This is because international business is conducted across national boundaries. Therefore, a company from different country venture into a different country will be exposed to the possibility to convert money into different currency, and the US currency is the most standardized or common currency to be used in international market. Simply said, managing international business is different as it involves a foreign country which has different environments in terms of culture, political, and economic, which we will be discussing in the following weeks. So that's all for today's. Thank you and see you next week. Bye.